Alright, so what exactly is a circle? It's a set of points that are the same distance from a point in the center. And I think we all know what a circle looks like. So that's just telling you that any point on the outside of that circle is the same exact distance to the center of that circle. Okay? So if you look at the picture down here, M is my center. So any point from here to any point on this circle is the same exact distance. Okay? Circumference, that is the distance around a circle. So the distance around this whole entire circle. So if you were to take that circle and cut it in two, and then kind of spread it apart and measure the distance of that line, that would be your circumference. Okay? But today we're going to find how to find the circumference of that circle. So it's distance around the circle. The diameter, that is your distance across the circle, or across the circle through its center. So this line segment, AMB, that is your diameter because it's going through the whole entire circle and it's passing through the center. Okay. What if I draw a line right here? Would that be a diameter?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not cutting it in half.
Okay, it's not passing through the center, right? So your diameter has to go through the dead center of that circle, and it has to go from one end to the other. Okay. Your radius is the distance from the center to any point on that circle. So line segment MC right here, that is a radius. But also if you look at your diameter, half of that diameter is the radius. So line segment MB is a radius, and line segment MA is also a radius. What?
I don't know how to read, so
I can draw infinite many radii, so multiple radius is radii, or diameters, as long as they're passing through the center. Okay. Down here at the bottom where I have starred, those are the two formulas we're going to be using a lot today. So just like I said, I didn't say the diameter, but diameter is twice the length of a radius, okay? So like I said, MA is a radius, MB is a radius, so put them together and that's the diameter. So 2 times R is your formula for the diameter. Okay. And then exact opposite, your radius is half of the diameter. So radius equals diameter divided by 2. Okay. So those are 2 important formulas. Okay, so flip over and let's learn how to use them. Remember that anytime you see D and R in these formulas, the D is always standing for the diameter, and then your R is always standing for your radius. So here's our 2 formulas again. Alright, so example number 1, the diameter of the circle is 14 inches and they want us to find the radius. Okay, so this is the diameter, remember, because it's going from one side of the circle to the other and it's passing through the center. So my diameter is 14, so that means if I'm trying to find the radius, then I'm going to use this formula up here that has D in it. So radius equals what? Diameter divided by 2. So that's the formula that I'm going to use. Okay. So you're using the formula for whatever you're trying to find. So the opposite of what they give you. So they gave me the diameter. I'm going to use the formula for radius. So all you're doing is plugging in 14 for D. And then 14 divided by 2 gives you 7. So your radius is 7 inches. Okay, that's all you're doing. Example 2, they give you a radius, and you are finding the diameter. So that tells me that I have to use the formula for the diameter. D equals 2R. Okay. So if my R is 8, I am simply just plugging in 8 for R. So 2 times 8 gives me 16. So my diameter is 16 feet. Okay. So you're just plugging those numbers into that formula. But you have to know which formula you need to be using. Okay. So let's look at A. We want to find either the radius or the diameter depending on what they gave us. So in A, they gave me that the diameter is 23 centimeters. So in this case, what am I trying to find? The radius. So what is my formula for radius? Diameter divided by 2, d over 2, okay? So now all I have to do is plug in 23 for d. So 23 divided by 2, 11.5. Okay. But I can't forget about my units because my diameter is 23 centimeters. So if my radius is 11.5, that means it's 11.5 centimeters. So don't forget about your units. Yes?
Where does the 2 come from?
From your formula. The diameter, remember, if you're finding the radius, the diameter of a circle, you have 2 of those that make up, 2 radius that make up a diameter. See, this whole thing is my diameter, but this is a radius, and this is a radius. So your diameter equals 2 times whatever that radius is, 2 times r. Or your opposite from that, your radius equals the diameter divided by 2. Okay. All right, B, r equals 3. So in this case, what am I trying to find? I'm given the radius, so I'm trying to find the diameter. So D equals what? 2r. So then you are just plugging in 3 for r. So 2 times 3 gives me 6. Okay. So my radius or my diameter is 6 inches. Any questions so far? All right, C, my diameter is 16 yards, so I want to find my radius. So radius equals D over 2. My D is 16. So that means it's 16 over 2, which is what? 8 yards. Good. Yeah, pretty simple. And last one, radius is 5.2. So what am I finding? The diameter, which is just 2r. So 2 times 5.2 gives me what?
10.6.
10.4. So what is it? 10.4 what? Units. I don't have anything there, so when you don't have anything, it's simply just units. It's 10.4 units. Any questions about that? Radius and diameter. Pretty easy, right? All right, flip over and let's learn about the circumference. All right, so like we said earlier, the circumference is the distance around that whole circle. We find that by multiplying pi times its diameter, or you can multiply pi times twice its radius. Okay, so here's my 2 formulas right here. Circumference equals pi times d, or circumference equals 2 pi r. Okay, so what is pi? Pi is a Greek letter. It looks like this, and if you were to spell it out, it's just pi. Okay. The value of pi is right here, 3.1415926, on and on and on. So pi is an infinitely repeating decimal. Okay. So it goes on and on and on. It never stops. We don't know how many numbers are after that decimal. It just repeats forever and ever, ever. Okay. So, yes.
There was something about it is how other repeating decimals, how they repeat the same pattern. Pi
It does not
repeat the same pattern at all.
Correct. Yes. So if I am multiplying something by pi to find the circumference, am I getting an exact answer? No, I'm getting an approximation, right? Because I have already estimated pi. Therefore, my final answer is not an exact number. It's going to be an estimation or an approximation, okay? So remember, whenever we're talking about an approximation, we use this little squiggly equal sign. Okay? So our circumference is always going to be approximately some number. All right, so when we are multiplying by pi, we are either going to choose to multiply by 3.14, or we can do 22 over 7. Okay. So you can plug those numbers in for pi, either one of those, and you will still get the same answer. Okay. I don't care which one you choose unless the problem states specifically to use one or the other, which in your homework it will, a couple of them. Okay. I prefer to use 3.14 because I think it's easier to deal with decimals than it is fractions. So I always use 3.14. Okay, let's look at an example. Number 3, find the circumference of a circle with the radius of 21 inches. So, remember, I have two different formulas for circumference. One is pi times d, and one is 2 pi r. In example 3, they told me that the radius is 21. So which formula do you think I need to use if I know the radius? Say it loud. 2 pi r. Why? Because it has the radius in it, which is what I know. I don't know what the diameter is. I could find it out. But it's a lot easier using what I already know, right? So if I know the radius, then I'm going to use this formula. But if I know the diameter, then I'm going to choose to use the first formula, pi d. Okay. So in example 3, we're using 2 pi r. So notice this approximation sign right here. So C is approximately 2 times pi, which they chose to use 22 over 7. If you use 3.14, it will not change. Okay. Times my r, which was 21. And then you're just multiplying all three numbers together, and your circumference is approximately 132 inches. Okay. So let's look at example E, or problem E. Find the circumference of each side and use 22 over 7 for pi. So in this case, I have to use that fraction. All right, so looking at that circle, what do I know about it? What information am I given? Ella? The diameter, right? This is a diameter, so this tells me that D equals 70 inches. Okay. So if I want to find the circumference, which formula do you think I need to use? Henry? Which formula do you think I need to use? Addison? Pi times d, because I know what d is. Okay. I don't want to use 2 pi r because I don't know what r is. Yes, I could find r and I could still use that, but I cannot use 70 as r because that is not r. Okay. I would have to use 35 as r. Okay, so now I'm just simply plugging in numbers. So pi, they told me to use 22 over 7. So I've got 22 over 7 times d, which I know is 70. So somebody tell me what you get when you multiply those two numbers together. Because I don't have my calculator. 220? We agree?
Yeah.
So my circumference is approximately 220 inches. Any questions on that? Okay. Looking at circle F, or the circle in F, what information am I given about that circle? The radius. This is half of my diameter, so my radius is equal to 7/8. So now if I'm still trying to find my circumference, which formula should I use for this one? Amy?
2 equals pi. Or 2.
2 pi r. C equals 2 pi r. And that's because I know what r is. So I know that I can plug in r, and I already know that what I can plug in for pi. And I can solve for C. So C equals 2 times 22 over 7 times 7 over 8. So what do I get? What's my circumference?
5.5.
5.5? So it's approximately 5.5 feet. Any questions on finding the circumference? Pretty easy, not too bad. All right, now we've got it presented to us in a word problem. So number 4 says Big Ben is a famous clock tower in London, England. The diameter of the clock face is 23 feet. Find the circumference. Okay. So if I'm given the diameter, that tells me that I need to use the formula of C equals pi d. I know that pi, I can use either 3.14 or 22 over 7. And then I know that my diameter is 23. So once you multiply those two together, you get 72.2 feet. All right, in G, a circular fence is being placed to surround a tree. The diameter of the fence is 4 feet. How much fencing is used? Use 3.14 for pi and round to the nearest tenth. Okay, so what exactly is it asking for here?
The circumference.
And why do you know that?
Because the diameter and then how much fencing is used. So it gives you the diameter. It's asking you how much fencing.
So if I'm trying to build a fence around a tree that's circular, which they told me, that means that that fence is going to be a circle as well, right? So if I want to find out how much fencing I need to make that circle, that means I have to find the circumference of that tree or of that area that I'm trying to make a fence for. And that will tell me how much fencing I need. So I am simply just finding the circumference. So if I know that my diameter is 4, what is my formula for circumference?
4 times pi.
Okay, pi d. And then once I plug in pi, they told me to use 3.14. So that's why I'm using 3.14. And then my d is 4. What'd you get?
12.56.
Okay, if I'm rounding to the nearest tenth, what would that round to? 12.6. So the circumference is approximately 12.6 feet. Remember, to the tenth is the first decimal. To 1 decimal place. Yes?
If we do it in 12.56, will you count off points?
Yes, because it's not rounded to the correct. If I didn't tell you how to round it, then no. But since it says to round to the nearest tenth, then it has to be rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay. All right, any questions on that?
No.
All right, real quick, I want you to do 1 through 5 by yourself, and then we will go over the answers. So 1 through 3, you're finding the radius or the diameter. So that's like what we did first. And then 4 and 5, you're finding the circumference. So everybody should be working on those 5 problems right now. Yes. Yeah. Nathan, why is that in a plastic bag? Put your pencil down whenever you are finished. All right, what did we get for number 1? 1.5 meters. So they gave you the diameter, so you are trying to find the radius. So your radius is 1.5 meters. What about number 2? 28 feet. Good. So your diameter is 28 feet. Number 3? 10 inches. Radius 10 inches. Any questions on those 3? Finding the radius or the diameter? Okay. What about number 4? You're finding the circumference. Okay. So you are using C equals pi times D because that's a diameter that they give you. So 47.1 meters. And what about number 5?
44.
So to the nearest tenth, what is that?
Yards.
44.
Yards.
So your circumference is approximately 44 yards. Any questions? So there's 4 different formulas that you'll be using. 1 for radius, 1 for diameter, and then 2 for circumference, depending on what information you are given. Okay. All right, so you have the rest of the class to work on your homework, which is the rest of this packet. So the whole next page. Okay. Y'all can go ahead and get started on that.